Welcome aboard the new patient group flight deck. Less chaos. Check. Less stress. Check. Less advertising costs. Check. More personal and financial freedom. Check. All right, business checklist completed. Let the takeoff roll begin. Welcome to Season 7 of the New Patient Group Audio Experience, a podcast dedicated to forward-thinking doctors wanting to learn innovative ways to run their business today so your practice can achieve new heights tomorrow. And now your host. He's the founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of RightChat, and a trusted motivational speaker for Invisalign, OrthoFi, and others. Brian Wright.
Hey, New Patient Group and RightChat Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here, and welcome in to another edition of the New Patient Group podcast, coming off a really good four-part series in May. And if you have not, whether you're a brand new listener or avid follower and just catching up, what you need to do is go back and listen to that four-part series in order, because we're now going to be diving into a series, moving away from the three ways you know your business is achieving the pinnacle of customer service. We are now moving into a series on now how do you actually get there. Now, this is not today with part one. I'm not going to teach you how to achieve this. I'm going to teach you that these are the three things this month in a three-part series. I am going to teach you these are the three things that you have to have working together in harmony, one helping the other, one advancing the other, in order for you to have any prayer whatsoever of achieving a high-end customer service brand. That is what we are with New Patient Group. We do quite a few things under one roof. But this month in this three-part series, I get to sit back here and passionately tell you why I founded this company, why I am driven to change so many mindsets out there that just sometimes just can't wrap their head that experience sells. Experience drives sales. Experience drives conversion. Experience drives, for your employees, a better employee experience. Drives compliance for them too. Experience drives patient compliance. Experience drives conversion. Experience drives new patients. Experience drives referrals. Experience drives not patients, but super fans of your practice that go out and refer and follow you on social media and thumb up your YouTube videos. All of that goes back to experience. Experience does not mean you're nice. Okay, that is one ingredient of a 1,000-piece puzzle. And a quick recap for you last month, if you're just checking in. Very first part last month was what is customer service? And this is an exercise you should do with your team. I do it with audiences. You get all kinds of different definitions. We do it with our private clients. When I go into the practice, we go into the practices. If you ask you ask all your team, what is customer service? It is a different definition. It means something different to everybody. But, and there's a big one, all the famous companies go by one definition, and that is what part one last month talked about. They go by one solid definition, and it is when you get what you want from your prospective and existing customers, okay? Your new patients that you want to sign the contract to get started with treatment and your ones in treatment, while your prospective and existing customers believe they got more than expected from you, all right? That is a powerful definition all of you should live by out there. You should have it in your lunchrooms. You should have it all over the place, and constantly going back to what is it that we want? Better patient compliance, okay? If that's the case, you've got to choreograph a journey that's beyond expected for your customer, for your patient. That is how you achieve it. It's never about one thing. That was part one last month. Go back and listen to that. Listen to it with your team. Then we talked about the three ways in part 2, 3, and 4 last month, the three ways you know that you're achieving that definition. And part one is, or the first way, is that every single team member is doing it, okay? Part two, or number two, is that every single team member is doing it every single time at a high level. That's 2. And 3, your customers, your patients are doing what you want them to do. Those are the 3 signs that you are achieving the definition of customer service. A couple things before we dive in today. I want to give major props to Isabel, who is head of education for Align Technology. Unbelievable Align Innovation Party at AAO. That was so cool so well done. And I know you were stressed. I know you had a lot of pressure that you felt on your shoulders there. And I hope Align gives you big props, because that event, that party was awesome. It was great seeing some friends and customers there. Dr. David Boschkin, shout out, buddy. I know you listen. Dr. Regina Blevins, shout out. I know you listen. And plenty more. Nicole, David Boschkin's TC, shout out to you. And so many others that I saw there that are my friends, customers, colleagues, just reps that I saw, just Align people. It was great. It was an amazing AAO for us, and it was awesome innovation party. Last chance as well on June 6th. Dr. Mark Olson and I, so this is coming up this week, he and I are going to be delivering a national webinar. This is going to be diving in. We got wonderful reviews with Dr. Bob Skopak and myself a few months ago. We're doing these every 3 months, national fireside chats. And we got great reviews because of just how unscripted it was. And, these are my customers, but they're also my friends. They stay at our house. I stay at their house. We know a lot about each other. So it's easy for us to just sit back, shoot the bull, have a conversation, and offer all of you audience members out there an absolute and amazing experience. All right, we're going to be diving into existing patient experience, patient compliance, revamping job descriptions, everything that we are teaching on the existing patient experience side to reimagine it the way it's always been done in orthodontics after that signed contract. It is one of my most favorite things that we do. We're going to be giving you some insights on what's going on with Mark Olson's practice. And that link, if you're watching on YouTube, hi there. As always, thumb this video up, share with your friends and colleagues, make some comments. But look in the description below. You're going to see a registration link for that national webinar with Mark Olson and I. Audio experience listeners out there, hello to you too. 5-star review on whatever outlet that you're listening to always helps us out. And the description below there, on whatever podcast network you're listening to this on, the webinar for Mark and I's national webinar will be there too. Get signed up, bring your team, learn a completely different universe on after they sign the contract. And it's better. It's more refined. It's more efficient. Your patients will be more compliant. And it all goes back to how can you get what you want by delivering more than expected. This is something that we teach over and over and over and over and over again. And now we get to dive into something that, like I said, I'm very passionate about 1, 2, and 3 this month, because it is the solid, most fundamentally reason why I created New Patient Group, founded New Patient Group 11 years ago as I do this podcast. It'll be 12 years this November that we've been around. And we continue to build this underground cult-like following. You're not going to see us a part of the huge names at AAO with the gigantic booth. My philosophy is, if we have the money for that, why not invest it in new things for the people that have already bought from us and keep the client loyalty, keep bringing new ideas to our customers. And that way you don't need 1 trillion new customers and all of a sudden it's mass chaos and quantity. We are a quality play that transformed the practice in 3 different areas. And this month we dive into part 1. If you want to achieve the definition of being a true hospitality brand, a true brand of customer service, the very first thing that you must understand, and it's the number one investment any business can make, bar none, not even close, but it's also one of the least invested in. This is why what I'm about to tell you is such a unique opportunity for so many of you out there. So many of you out there have been told, well, I need pay-per-click and I need advertising and I've got to hit the high schools and I've got to hit the GPs and I've got to do this. And your mindset is outside the doors. I met a guy at AAO as a newer practice and then another guy that was his friend that hasn't even opened up his practice. So we get into a conversation. This was over by the Align booth. We get into the conversation about, what do these guys need? And both of them were like, we need new patients. Like, so what advertising should I do, Brian? Like, what should I do? Like, should I, I'm talking to a billboard company and I'm talking to this and I'm just sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, like, can I please start teaching, inside the schools? Because the mindset, and this is not just in orthodontics, by the way, or dentistry or whatever. If you sit around and talk to 15 restaurant owners that are all about to open up a restaurant, where's the mindset? We got to get customers through the door. While of course that's true, the mindset for all of you out there should always be what you can do better inside your doors. Internal marketing is always better. It always produces a higher return on investment. Why? Because when I tell you step one today, the very first thing that you have to do to be able to accomplish the 4-part series we talked about last month, the very first thing is culture. Culture, through extraordinary leadership, will set your business up for success no matter what you want to accomplish. You want to bring in an orthophy, you want to bring in a remote monitoring company, you want to switch from one clear aligner to another, you want to go from a high analog, high braces practice to a high share-to-chair, fully digital practice. You want to bring in a new patient group, my other company, RightChat. You want to switch to a different bracket system. You want your customers to receive something, your patients to receive something that is of value, that is above and beyond what they would expect. You want to come across to be more hospitable than their other opinions or any business they've ever walked into. The list goes on and on and on and on. You must have an extraordinary culture through extraordinary leadership. Your culture must be your ultimate driving force. Now, most people, when you talk about this, they agree with it. Like, there's nobody that's going to go, a bad culture is the way to go, Brian, right? Like, at least hopefully not. I'm sure there's one out there. But nobody intentionally walks in and creates a bad culture. Nobody thinks that a good culture can't help. The difference here, though, is that anything and everything you do, and this is one of the reasons why, it's not the reason, but it's one of the reasons why I have it with New Patient Group, is because I know if we transform your culture, the rest of our program will be implemented at a high level. If we bring in unbelievable ideas into your organization and your culture is trash and culture's not a part of what we do, we have no chance. Every company out there that you bring in is totally 100% at the mercy of the leader you are and the culture you have created inside your organization. Are your employees coachable? Do they have a growth mindset? Do you have an infinite or finite mindset? Are you transactional or aggregate thinkers? How do you look at the whole organization? Do you function like an entrepreneur or an MBA? And I can tell you, if you want to go out of business as a small business, function like a corporation instead of an entrepreneur. This is why you should always be searching for entrepreneurs that have had multiple successful companies, that are experts in humans, but also know how to apply all of that inside your world. Right? Because small business owners, the way you have to run things is completely the opposite of how a corporation can get away with it. It's just a fact. And if you have never owned multiple businesses before, everything I just said went flat because you cannot comprehend the world we live in. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. The things that an entrepreneur and small business needs are completely different than what a corporation needs. Totally different. And a lot of things that help a corporation hurt a small business. This is the disconnect. Right? But back on cue. The real reason, though, that we created a company, and I created a company many years ago that had culture as the number one foremost service, team building, business coaching, entrepreneur coaching. See, leadership and culture, there's hundreds of little buckets that fall into that, right? I think when people think culture, a lot of times, just like when they think experience, they think, my people are nice. I don't need experience training. Right? And for a while, it's kind of why we shied away from marketing ourselves as the patient experience company, because the mistake so many people out there make is, Nancy, Susie, Judy, and we're nice. Right? We don't need help with experience. We need advertising. Right? And the thing it goes back to is that experience, being nice, is one ingredient of a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's an infinite ongoing pursuit of being perfect for your customer. It's never going to happen. Perfection's impossible, but there's really nothing wrong with trying to get there. Right? And part of the customer experience is you as a leader and how you offer an employee experience that goes beyond. You want to get employees to do what you want them to do, then you have to offer them an unexpected experience. What's your onboarding process like? Have you built out all your training via nice 4K digitalized videos? One of the things we help our customers with. Why? It goes back to the culture. Right? It goes back to the culture. It goes back to the employee experience. What kind of bonus system do you have? Do you give them the ability, if they have interest in self-improvement, to advance their career forward, or are you making your employees feel stuck in their life and their career, which is a horrible place to be? But there's thousands, really, when it relates to customers. Certainly not thousands, but certainly hundreds of things that relate back to the culture of your organization. right? Do the employees run the show, or do you run the show? Now, I love this, and I have podcasts about this. I've actually pre-recorded some that'll be out in the future. And one of the things I love is when doctors, when you call us, we have a great conversation, you need us. And then we hear, well, I got to go talk to my team about this. And I'm just pounding my head into the wall. I'm like, what do you mean you have to go talk to your team? No, you don't. That's not a leader. A leader says, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Here's what we need. This is what I need of all of you. This is the vision. This is why I'm picking this company, because they help achieve my vision. Let's talk about it, because after today, we're not going to talk about it anymore, right? Get on board. Let's move forward, and I need you to function at the highest possible levels, and I'm going to give you the training and the tools and the direction and the guidance necessary to make sure we knock this out of the park. That's a leader. What many of you do, though, is that you're afraid you're going to lose Sammy, and you're afraid you're going to piss off Christy, and you're afraid you're going to upset Susie, and the next thing you know, you don't do anything because your employees are running the show, and it is totally, completely asinine. There is not a successful entrepreneur that you know the name of, that you see on TV, that would ever do that in a million years. And businesses that exist outside of orthodontics and other healthcare industries would tank if they ran it that way. You all are lucky that you're in a position to run it that way, and many of you are still on paper successful. You have got to be a leader and provide direction. You don't ask for permission, ever under any circumstances. But going back to the real reason that I created culture and leadership training, culture building, team building, ongoing training for the leadership team, the doctor, the business owner, the office manager, and the team, because leadership is a trained skill set, right? That is not something that is hey, you get to be a leader, go get them, right? That position requires more training than you ever provided that person before they were promoted into that position to begin with. But going back to that definition and why May is a very, very critical month for you to listen to that 4-part series. Because the number one reason, getting back to what I brought up earlier, the number one reason we do this leadership and culture and all the stuff that is involved in that under the New Patient Group umbrella of services is because it is what, without that, tell me, you all message us and tell me how you can achieve what you want as a business owner. Less stress, less chaos, right? Less advertising costs, great employees, right? Low turnover, right? The bad employees leave, the good employees stay. That's a sign of good leadership. Podcasts in the future. High conversion, right? Highest dollar conversion too, right? You're the most expensive of their 5 opinions. Lower no-shows. High conversion, high cash flow, high profit, which means something very different to us than it does a corporation, right? And there's a pod. If you go back to, I think it was the last episode 2 seasons ago, I told you why your accountant is sabotaging your success. Very popular podcast, and there's an exercise I teach on there on how a small business owner must look at numbers. And those are very different than the data sheet that a corporation will look at. Completely different. It's one of a million different ways you must look at things different as an entrepreneur business owner than if you worked or ran a corporation. Night and day differences. But back to all the things that you want. How could you ever get those and deliver the customer, prospective customer, existing customer, new patient, existing patient, whatever you want to call them, more than expected at the same time if your culture wasn't top notch? One of the things that we work so hard on with New Patient Group and Right Chat, Mother Company, is just this obsession over the customer. And sometimes we get frustrated because there's plenty of companies out there that don't have that. And when we lose a sale because somebody else is cheaper than us on paper, it's frustrating. We have to look in the mirror, just like we teach all of you. If you want to be a higher price company, you have to be able to articulate and sell the value of why someone should pay that money. Right? Otherwise, they're going to go to the other practice and not get as good a result. And that's what happens oftentimes with us too, is that we obsess over the customer. We obsess over our employees. We are constantly reinvesting in our customer, constantly reinvesting in our employees, spending time with our employees, making sure that the employees feel safe. Like, this is all part of leadership and culture too. Like, being empathetic if someone's performance is down. We don't jump down there, what. We find out what's going on in their life, and we actually give a damn to sit down there and help them improve the things going on in their life because, one, we do care, but two, we also know that they're going to be a better performer at work because of it. Two, three, we know that because of that experience for the employees, they're going to deliver a much better customer experience whenever we're not looking. See, all of that stuff is enticed. It's all tied together. So if you have any chance whatsoever of achieving what you want while delivering more than the customer would expect in that given moment in time, right? It's not about one moment in time. It's about every interaction. And think about that. All the interactions, and this is going to lead into part 2. All the interactions, as I close out today, all the interactions that you and your team have with prospective people, right? New patients that they're not even a new patient. They're just Joe searching the internet and shopping around. Like, they're not even a new patient. I don't even think you should call it a new patient. All the interactions they have with those people, and then also the people that have bought from you, all the interactions with those people. Think about how crazy that is, because 90% of it has nothing to do with orthodontics whatsoever. Some does, of course, and even the stuff that doesn't, you still have to have some knowledge of the industry to be able to apply it back properly. I get it, and I think that's why, and you've heard me say, that's why we are unique. We come from outside your bubble, but know the bubble inside and out, so we know how to take all of it and apply it. And it's such a unique program, but culture, everybody out there, is the number one return on investment. But it's also the least invested in. And one of the reasons I believe it is it's not instantaneous. And 2, you must look in the mirror. And 3, your team must look in the mirror. And that's hard for some people, right? If you're going to do an advertising billboard or market to your high school, I'm not telling you not to do any of those things, by the way. But if your culture is like what I'm talking about, all those other things that you want to do, either you're going to find that you don't have to do them, or you're going to find that when you do them, you're going to have to spend less because your conversion, once those people pick up the phone and call, and throughout that whole funnel, the whole journey that we teach, is going to be higher. And the higher you convert, and at the higher price you convert, the less you have to advertise. The more you convert, the more you turn what otherwise would just be a patient into a super fan, and they become your sales force, the less and eventually no advertising that you have to do. But it all comes down, you have no chance of anything you heard on this podcast ever happening for you if your culture suffers. And that is sometimes, whether it's employee turnover or whatever it is, that is on you as a leader or lack thereof. But this today goes back to, if you want, this is what we teach as a company. We specialize in getting what you want, not what we want, what you want. You may want to work more, you may want to work 3 days less a week. 1 day less a week. You may want to see what your grandchildren, okay? If that's the case, there's a choreographed journey that goes on to get there. That's very different than somebody that says, I want to work 5 days a week. I want to grow my conversion by 10%. I want to increase my production by 25%, etc. Okay, to get you there, that's a different choreographed journey to go beyond. But the step one to all of it is your mindset, your leadership skills, and the culture that you create. I hope everybody enjoyed part 1 today. We've got 2 more parts coming, most likely this month. And then we've got tons of other podcasts we're going to dive into with this new format. I hope everybody is enjoying the shorter episodes. This one's a tad bit longer than maybe some of these other ones will be. But I hope you're enjoying the new format. Have a great June. We're going to be back with part 2. And until we are, take great care of yourselves, great care of your patients and customers, great care of your team members, all right? See you, everybody. Thanks for your support. Bye-bye.